This day in sports history. It's April 23rd, and if you have ever visited Chicago's Wrigley Field to watch the Cubs play, and then you sang along with Caray and his rendition of Take Me Out to the Ballgame during the seventh inning stretch, then you can trace it back to what happened around this day in 1976. So, I don't have an exact date on this event, but let's just say I'm in the ballpark. Bill Veeck had just purchased controlling interest in the Chicago White Sox in December 1975. Caray had been hired to do the radio play-by-play for the White Sox back in 1971, coming over after a miserable one-year stint with the Oakland A's. Now, Caray was on the brink of being fired by the White Sox until Veeck became the owner. When Caray was working for the St. Louis Cardinals, he was well known to sing along with Take Me Out to the Ballgame during the seventh inning stretch, while the radio broadcast was in commercial. Now, he wasn't leaning out of the booth and leading the fans in singing, he was just enjoying the moment with whoever was in the booth with him. Well, on this day in 76, or around about this day in 76, the White Sox were at home against Boston, and Veeck had an idea. He always had ideas, and he loved putting them into practice. Well, some worked, some didn't. Well, without telling Caray, Veeck took the sound of him singing into his microphone during the commercial break, and he piped it through the stadium's PA system there in Comiskey Park. The fans, who were very familiar with Caray's voice, loved it, and they started to sing along with him in the stands. Now, initially, Caray was miffed, but Veeck calmed the stormy waters by telling him, "Caray, the fans like singing with you because they know they can sing better than you." It became a regular thing there at Comiskey, and when Caray moved from the south side to the north side to work with the Cubs, he continued that tradition, and with the aid of WGN broadcasting the games all over the country, the endearing and lovable Caray singing during the seventh inning stretch with the crowd became an embedded tradition. Hey. You've heard me talk about the Sterling Soap Company for a while now, and whether you've jumped on board and smell like an absolute champion, or you've been a little hesitant, then here's a great opportunity for you. We're giving away a $75 gift card to use at sterlingsoap.com. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you. Go to sportshistorynetwork.com/giveaways for your chance to win a $75 gift card to the Sterling Soap Company. I've put a link in the show notes as well. Now, let's get back to the episode. Staying on the baseball diamond for what happened on this day back in 1999. It was a baseball first that may never be equaled and surely not bested. So, 1876 is considered the year that the first recognized game in Major League Baseball history was played, right? And here in 99, nearly 123 years to the day after that first game, Fernando Tatis Sr. became the first and still only player in Major League Baseball history to hit 2 grand slams in the same inning. The St. Louis Cardinals were in Los Angeles playing the Dodgers on this night. As Tatis Sr. stepped to the plate in the third inning, the bases were loaded with no outs.
Park is set. He kicks and delivers. Fastball, and it's a grand slam. Woo! We see who powered that one. A grand slam home run, and the Cardinals lead it 4-2.
That went over the bullpen.
A few minutes later, Tatis walked to the plate feeling a little deja vu with the bases loaded once again and Park still on the mound. The only differences were there were now 2 outs, and Park threw a breaking ball that hung over the plate.
In the pitch, the runners go 3-2 to Tatis. Swing and a long one. There it is, folks. Baseball history. A second grand slam home run for Fernando Tatis in the third inning in Los Angeles, California, and the Cardinals lead it 11-2. Wow.
The Cardinals went on to win 12-5. Tatis was in his third year as a big leaguer at this point, and prior to the third inning on this night, he'd never hit a grand slam. and he really was not known as a home run hitter yet. He did go on to hit a career-best 34 that season, but he fell off after that. In his 11-year career, he hit a total of 113 homers. For comparison, his son Fernando Tatis Jr. has 135 homers so far in his 6 years in the majors. Since we're talking about scoring runs in bunches, let's go back to what happened on this day in 1955 when the Chicago White Sox scored a Major League tying 29 runs in a win against the KC Athletics. Bob Neiman was the heavy hitter in this one, homering twice and driving in 7 on this night. Sherm Lawler also hit a pair of dingers. Minnie Minoso and even the starting pitcher Jack Harshman got in on the fun with home run shots of their own. Kansas City's starting pitcher Bobby Shantz was not having any fun in this one, giving up 9 runs in an inning and 2/3. The 29 runs scored by the White Sox equaled the Major League record at the time, scored by the Boston Red Sox 5 years before. The 29 runs scored by one team would stand as the record until the Texas Rangers scored 30 in 2007. As I mentioned yesterday, the Basketball Association of America played their first championship series back in 1947. Well, on this day in 1950, it was the first NBA championship series, wrapping up with the Minneapolis Lakers beating the Syracuse Nationals 110-95 to win the series 4-2. Game 6 was a physical game, and in fact there were several fights. One in the first quarter got so bad that police had to be called to the court to break it up. The original big man, George Mikan, scored 40 points to lead the way for the Lakers. The NBA actually recognizes this as their 4th championship series, claiming the previous 4 years of the BAA as the official start to the league and the 47 title as its first. But this is the first one after the merger of the BAA and the National Basketball League, and the first one under the new NBA banner. The NBA sloughed off the history of the NBL because it was a bit of a mess. It was a loose association that let teams decide their own schedules and how many games they would play in a season, and even how long a game was going to be. But here in 1950, under the unified banner of the NBA, the Lakers won the title. On this day in 2019, Southampton's Shane Long scored the fastest goal in English Premier League history. Watford kicked off, but Southampton's Long was quick to put pressure on the Watford back line.
Well, the top 6 continue their own battle for places in the Champions League or the Europa League, but there's a chance here immediately. Shane Long, what a start! Less than 10 seconds played, and Shane Long, restored to the starting 11 this evening by Ralph Hasenhüttl, has stunned Watford. A goal inside 10 seconds, it may have been just 8.
That was the only goal Southampton would score that day in a 1-1 draw. Sadly, the Saints didn't have anything like that to celebrate this season. They were an early relegation casualty. It will be their first demotion since 2005. On this day in 1964, Houston's Ken Johnson became the first and still only player to pitch a 9-inning complete game no-hitter and lose. The Colt 45s were in Cincinnati taking on the Reds. Through 8 innings, Johnson had walked 3 and only 3 balls had been hit hard enough to make it out of the infield, all fly balls caught by his Colt 45 teammates. With 1 out in the 9th, Cincinnati rookie Pete Rose came to the plate.
Here's the first pitch into Rose. There's a bunt out in front of the plate. Johnson's up with it. He'll have to hurry, and he can't get it. The ball goes down the right field line, and Rose is on his way to second. Fox makes the pickup, and it's going to be scored as an error on the throw.
The next batter lined a shot off Johnson's shin. He recovered in time to nab the runner at first, but Rose moved to third. That brought up Vada Pinson with 2 outs now.
Rose on an error on the throw by Johnson, trying to get him at first, and 2 away. Here's the windup in the first pitch into Pinson. Ground ball right side. Fox, he's got it, dropped it, throw to first. It's not in time. The run scored. And Cincinnati leads 1-0 on an error by Fox.
2 errors in the top of the 9th allowed the run to score, but still not a hit on the board. Cincy's Joe Nuxall came on in the bottom half and held Houston scoreless. and the Reds made Johnson the first and still only Major League pitcher to throw a complete game 9-inning no-hitter and lose. And time now for today's That's Got Nothing to Do with Sports fun fact. Even the best inventions are not immune from government overreach. In January 1943, sliced bread was banned in the U.S. Now, the thought was to conserve resources, such as steel used in bread slicing machines and wax paper for the war effort. Sales of unsliced bread dropped by more than 10%. And it was a bridge too far for many, with some complaining that sliced bread was good for the morale and sanity of people here on the home front. It was highly unpopular, and less than 2 months later, the ban on sliced bread was lifted, with the government official responsible for the ban saying, "The savings are not as much as we expected," while not acknowledging the unpopularity of the act. That sounds eerily familiar. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.